The future of buffalo's unique wilderness in the city, the Tift Farm Nature Preserve, is on hold. Once an extensive marshland where Indians hunted hundreds of years ago, it was a bustling part of the Port of Buffalo at the turn of the century. In the early 1970s, the Buffalo Sewer Authority transferred 2 million cubic feet of garbage to be buried at Tift Farm in a clay-lined landfill. The newly formed mounds were seeded, and green grass is the only evidence left. What has transpired is a nature preserve, an environmental education center on this 265-acre haven for more than 200 different species of birds, wildflowers, and small animals. Located at the easternmost tip of Lake Erie in the midst of the industrial waterfront of Buffalo, Tift Farm has been used extensively for area schools and 25,000 visitors annually since its inception in the summer of 1978. The discovery of 31 industrial drums along the shores of the farm's Lake Kirsty and the subsequent finding of more than 50 others prompted the immediate closing of Tift Farm in April by the Erie County Health Department. Tests by various county, state, and federal agencies disclosed some of the drums contained cancer-linked chemicals, and no decision on reopening the nature preserve will be made until the completion of time-consuming evaluation of countless pages of test results. This was a crushing blow for the Buffalo Museum of Science, which oversees the preserve, and its administrator, Wayne Gall.
Based on the divers' report, they seem to contain a similar material that was found in one of the 2 drums that was analyzed last September. It appears to be a black solidified material, possibly the end products of coking process. Where, in terms of where it came from, we could speculate, but at this point we have no idea. I should also say that Lake Kirsty is kind of in a funny situation. It's connected by a culvert to the small boat harbor. This culvert passes under Route 5, so that the results of analyzing fish from Lake Kirsty are not necessarily conclusive.
The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation was one of the first of many agencies to arrive at the site. Its regional director is John Spagnoli. What is the role of the Department of Environmental Conservation in this Tift Farm issue?
Kind of a middle role. A friend of Tift Farm. We've invested money, state dollars, into Tift Farm. I personally am involved to some degree with it. And on the second half, we're a regulator. So we go both ways. We'd like to assist Tift Farm on a friendly basis. We're doing analysis to them, for them. We're doing a lot of work for them. We'd like to help them with review of their documents and their plans so their plans are proper. But on the other hand, we are the state regulators. We have to make sure that the environmental problems are mitigated.
It's obvious from the poor structural condition of the drums that they've been here a long time. It's only recently that they've been discovered because of shoreline erosion and some work along the shore of the lake. The reason why there probably is so much concern is that last September, when the drums were first discovered, 2 were analyzed and were found to contain 2 types of materials that the Environmental Protection Agency classifies as hazardous materials.
In 1979, a 10-member state interagency task force identified 152 sites in Erie and Niagara counties where large amounts of hazardous waste are known. And the Tift Farm was classified as a Priority 2 site, a waste disposal site that may have received significant quantities of hazardous wastes. And we question the type of monitoring done at the Tift Farm since then.
When we started with the urban fishery program, I was in Albany working the laboratories, and one of the instructions I gave staff was any place that we were going to place fish where we would draw fishermen in, and obviously they may eat the fish, that we were going to test the waters and test the fishes to make sure they're acceptable. So in the 78-79 era, we tested the fish from this lake. In 1981, when Mr. Darling wanted to do some additional construction in the back for aesthetic purposes, we agreed to work with them and tested the soils, did some design work for channels to enhance the area, again did some testing work there. The testing basically showed that the levels at that time, including the polyaromatic hydrocarbons, weren't high enough to light off a red alarm. This was a dump area, and we're not surprised when we find concentrations, noticeable concentrations of waste in the soils.
One good sign, the shutdown hasn't affected the inhabitants. Wildlife goes on in abundance. And the work still goes on. Birdbander Karen Geiger finds plenty of her winged friends to register.
This is a male because he's got red striping on his breast. Females don't have that, they have a plain colored breast. I don't want him to get real excited. No. There. Isn't he pretty?
Is it possible that the preserve may be opened this year, reopened?
Well, all I can say is I hope to have it opened as soon as possible. I would like to have it opened by the end of this year, certainly.
I'd like to believe that to be the case. There are very few places like Tift Farm. There are very few people like those who have been instrumental in moving Tift Farm. I think that if Tift Farm were closed down, for short of a strong health and environmental reason, it would be a travesty.